Guys, in this video I want to talk about cutting down a wall and making it into a half wall and then finishing the top of it. We recently had a project where we were asked to enclose a covered porch, and there was a door from the garage into the kitchen. You had to come out of the garage, walk outside, go back into the kitchen, inside the house. So once we did this, the client then asked us to remove the old exterior wall and make it a half wall. You can't cut a structural wall out without first installing a header or a beam. So what we did is we ensured that this wall was supported all the way down to the foundation. That downward support is called point load. Point load is basically an area where the structure is transferred vertically down to the foundation, typically with a post and doubled up studs and beams and stuff like that. We also determined that a prior remodeling job on the second floor had transferred the weight out to the outer edge of that porch roof line. So that helped us actually, so that we just basically further supported that roof line by installing a laminated LVL header, and then we just framed a wall and a window underneath it. So we enclosed it in. With this done, we were clear and free to remove that inner wall. But that inner wall had some electrical outlets and a radiator and a whole bunch of other components that involved other trades. So in order to save money and budget and plaster, electrical, plumbing costs, we decided to just take the wall down to a halfway point and make it a half wall, kind of a transition point. Half walls, though, they're known to have flex in them. So I wanted to eliminate that or try to reduce the flex. So one side had plaster on it, the other side had 3/4 sheathing. We left that 3/4 sheathing in place because it helps stiffen the wall. That was the old outside sheathing. And additionally, we added on the outside edge of that wall some 2x4s all the way down into the floor joist area, and we tied them in with structural screws and some wood blocking to stiffen that wall up, and it significantly helped. So we were able to take the flex out of the half wall. Then we talked about capping the wall. So we plastered it, and you can cap the wall with granite, corian, wood. You can even do just plaster with corner bead. The client decided that they wanted to cap the half wall with wood and then paint it trim color. So in order to avoid having to deal with end grain from a solid piece of wood and route it on the edges or whatever, I decided to use birch plywood and poplar half round nosing all the way around. And I like using birch plywood for painted tops and this types of applications. First of all, plywood is not susceptible to cracking, shrinking, or warping. And using the poplar solid wood nosing allows me to basically hide any plywood edges, and it just looks great. It's a really nice way to finish it off. So to determine my proper width, I just measured the width of the wall plus the width of some 3/4 Scotia that I was going to use. So and then I added for an overhang on the Scotia. I then compared that measurement to the nosings that I was going to use, which I had here in the shop pre-made, and I basically just cut my plywood down to make that size work. I left it long so that when I got on site, I could scribe the wall end tight, because I knew that the mudroom and the interior wall might not line up, so I wanted to make sure that I could scribe that tight fit. Also, when I put the nosing onto this top, I used a biscuit joiner. I did this less for joint strength and more for alignment when gluing it up. When you're working alone, it just helps to keep things in place, and when you're putting the clamps on, it just clamps, the whole assembly clamps together nicely. During clamp up though, when you do these kind of applied nosings, you have to be careful that the nosings are actually in the same plane as the plywood. A couple of brad nails in the mitered corners, mitered the ends, and you're fine, good to go. Once the glue's cured, I fill the nail holes. I fill anything with wood, any seams, any nail holes with wood filler, and I sand with 80 grit sandpaper. And then you're ready to install, and it looks great. Just center that shelf over the overhang, scribe my end piece so it fits in tight, and then once everything is fit, I put it down with construction adhesive, a few finish nails, ensuring equal overhangs obviously, and then I always install the Scotia molding. I do the long ends first and then just finish with the ended mitered, double mitered piece. And I just find that easier to do. It's a much easier installation. When installing the Scotia molding, I always hold it in a tight upward fashion, and this is going to ensure that you close the gaps and have a nice tight fitting seam. I use a brad nailer, and I install the brads at a slight upward angle. That's going to push and suck up the Scotia molding. Obviously, you're mitering the ends. You use glue in your miters. Sometimes I put nails in the mitered end, sometimes I don't. fill the nails, sand, prime, and paint, and you're ready to go. Guys, this was a way to do a mudroom. It's not the way. It was an interesting application. We ran into all kinds of different fun things in remodeling, and I wanted to share it with you. Please consider subscribing to our channel. Please consider commenting. We love hearing from you, and we appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.